Welcome to the Been There, Done That podcast, where we give our guests the opportunity to talk openly about their career, their ups and downs, and all things in between. You can follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you can also watch it on YouTube. If you enjoyed the podcast, give us a like and a follow on our social media, which you can find in the link in the show notes. Hi everyone, and welcome back to episode 18. Now that WA are no longer in COVID restrictions, we can get back to our regular programming. This week, I was joined by Bryony Soden, who is a gun Muay Thai fighter training out of Three Lions Gym. Bryony has a tenacious attitude towards her training and is dedicated to improving her skills to be one of the best to ever do it. Bryony and I chatted about her start at Muay Thai, her mistakes that she's made preparing herself for competition, and her Muay Thai experience. All the best to Bryony for her future fights, and thank you for listening to the podcast. There we're dodgy. All right, we're live. Welcome back, everyone. I've been away for the last couple of weeks with COVID and had to reschedule people and organising everyone. It's been 2 weeks off, so I'm excited to be back, and I'm joined by Bryony. Welcome.
What's up? It's good to be here.
Is it? You happy?
Yeah, a bit excited.
It's good. I'm excited to have you. Really am. I came across your Instagram profile after I think you followed me after one of my fighters I had on the podcast.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're a good source of good source of entertainment, and your good little view. Your good little stories on there as well. And I'm really excited to sit down and delve into the story. And so, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up into the Muay Thai game?
Muay Thai. So specifically Muay Thai, I've always, because my older brother Brant, do you know Bryony Soden?
No, I don't.
So he fights. He's had like 15 fights.
Oh,
pretty good, yeah. He's always fought. He trained at like in Rockingham, do you know where that is? Yeah, at the squash courts with Brian Harris, stuff like that. Yeah, so when I listened to him, I was like, ooh. And he had a few fights with them, and I always went and watched, and like I watched his training, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, I want to do that. So I always asked my dad to do that, and he's like, no, you're not ready. Like you're too young, and you're a girl, you can't do it. So I was like,
how old were you then?
Like 15, 16.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But like my brother just used to get beat up real bad, but then he changed gyms, and like I knew he changed gyms because like I noticed like at home he'd go for runs every day and his nutrition was on point, and he was just like a different person. So it was like the end of high school. So I was 17. I'd just been, because I have a martial arts background, I've done judo for 10 years. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So when I was in school, I always wanted to stay fit. I wasn't able to do martial arts because it just wasn't provided to me by my parents. And at that age, you have to get what you want. So I used to go to the gym and lift weights because I was so focused as a female, you want to look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the gym at the time for like 2 years. And it just wasn't giving me that push that I wanted. So when I watched my brother fight, I had that in my head. I also had in my head, I just had like the first school carnival ever done in high school, just in my last year of high school. And I tried to do one of the events, which is like long distance running. Couldn't even do 2 laps. I had to stop and give up because I thought I was fit. I looked fit. Like I had muscles and everything, but I wasn't. So
different.
I had those 2 things in my mind. Like I've always adored and loved martial arts, and I wanted a different like test because like I'm a very athletic person, but I had not been tapping into that for most of the time being a teenager, and I wish I did. So when I watched my brother fight for the first time under my old gym, we changed names, so it used to be Beastmasters Australia.
Yep.
Under Dave McVicker. When he walked out, he had like a crowd of people cheering for him. He's never had that support before until he moved to this gym.
Oh, cool.
And when he fought, he knocked the guy out in 1 minute, 45 seconds. And he was just so good. And it was his first unpadded fight. It was on Ignition, Muay Thai, Peter Boyd's show. And I was just like, I want to do that. So I spoke to my brother afterwards, and I went in the following day because it was on a Sunday. Went on the following day at training. I can literally remember everything I did in that class. And I remember going on pads straight away with my coach, Dave. And he just told me what I'm capable of. And I was like, okay, sweet. So I just came to training every day since, and I've been obsessed since.
And then that was when you were 17?
17, yeah.
Oh.
End of 2000 and 17, yeah, end of 2017. So 4.5 years, 4 years ago, 4.5. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it was just full on. I haven't taken a step backwards or anything like that.
I'm obsessed.
It's been straight up.
I'm very obsessed. I don't know. Like since then, I've like straight away in terms of fighting. After like 5 months, my coach like wanted to match me, and I was like, I am not fit enough. I remember like after my first month, I did an interclub, and I had to verse Shannon Gardner. She's my friend now. She literally, because like I didn't know what Muay Thai was for such a long time, but I just was hell natural at it. She literally kicked me in the face and gave me a blood nose. I was like, what? Because I was being hell like good and like pressuring her, but I was like a newbie, so she just like did that to me. And I remember her giving me a push kick and being like, whoa, an Australian champion like did this to me. And like that was pretty cool after like a month of training.
After a month of training, you were in the club with an Australian champion.
Yeah. And then I had my first fight. I had it booked in for October.
Mm-hmm.
First fights never happen. Hey, we always get pull-outs. So I wasn't able to fight like until November. And I just felt so natural at it. It was just so easy. And it was good. It was fun. I got told that because I went against a gym that didn't clinch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So like I got told if I grab her on in the clinch, drag her to the corner. So literally like 8 times in that fight, you could just see me grab her by the neck and like
push her
across the ring, like the entire ring. I'm kneeing her across the entire ring.
Wow.
Because I was like, I'll drag you to this corner, drag you to that corner. But it was really fun.
Did your coach say why he put you in like with an Australian champ in the first month of your training?
I'm very like composed and because we're a small gym, like I train alongside fighters. That's how I started. How I got good so quick because I was training alongside like my brother who had like 8 fights at the time. Joshua Day, he had like 10 to 15. Max McVigar, who's had over 100 fights. Like we're such a small gym and we learn off each other and get better so quick. So for me to be able to train alongside those boys, of course I can do an ins club. Yeah. And I see it now, like the girls that we're training at a gym now, they've had 2 ins clubs recently, and our gym's just so composed and so natural, so relaxed. I think it reflects my coach's style. He's very chill. So we're just, I don't know, confident in our own skills.
That's awesome. Do you feel like your judo background helped with the transition in to Muay Thai?
Yeah, definitely. Started when I was 4. My first coach I had, his name's Bill Vanderberg, hell old school.
Yeah.
Hell old school. Like if we weren't doing push-ups properly, we'll be doing push-ups for the whole hour and a half until later until we do it correctly. Like if we're crying, he would chuck us in like this little bin he kept inside. He used to teach us to like rip people's ears and like dig our shoulders into people and like when we're doing groundwork. Like I grew up doing that when I was 4. The boys, because we had like boys who were around my age. I still speak to them now. They used to like be hell scared going with me because I was like a girl. They didn't want to hurt me, but I was like hell intense. I had like my fight face on all the time, which I have now when I fight. That just taught me to be like brutal and like very disciplined. Oh,
100%.
Yeah. So I did that from when I was 4 to about 14.
Wow. Did you work up like a belt? Was there belt progressions? Did you work all the way up?
Yeah. Not like I wasn't really into getting my belts and stuff. I just did competitions as much as I could. Yeah. So I remember only getting up to my green, but I still I remember winning the state titles 4 times. I wasn't allowed to do nationals because I was a girl, and I have 3 older brothers. They got to do all the bigger opportunities. So
really,
that's why fighting to me means so much in terms of like showing that women can do it, because I didn't feel like I was given that opportunity when I was younger.
Oh, and that was it because there was not enough women doing it that age?
Yeah, and just because like my parents chose to invest in the boys more. I always was just copying my brothers because I wanted to be like them. It wasn't, Bryony, you should do this. It was, can I do this, please? I want to be like them. That's why I've done Muay Thai, because I wanted to be like my brother, because they get to do all the cool stuff. And girls are not meant to do that type of sport and do them things, but I just chose to anyway.
Yeah. There you go. Good on you. That's awesome. So after you've had that, you had your first interclub and then you had your first matchup. Yeah. Was it just straight into the net? Was it continuous?
I fought like every 4 weeks. Hey, I had like 9 fights in my first year of fighting.
What?
Yeah. Which is good but bad. I learned a lot from doing that. Like the reason why like my coach did that is to keep me busy. But the only thing I would change is understanding nutrition, understanding recovery, understanding like periodization, because all of that matters. And like
100%.
I absolutely drove myself into the ground. Like on the exterior, me showing up to training every single day, you wouldn't be able to tell. But I didn't know at the time that I was doing that. It wasn't until the first Corona shut down that my body just full on, like I finally like healed and slowed down. So yeah.
So your body was just, you were training so hard, your body was just breaking down.
Yeah, I was doing silly things like I wasn't aware of. And that's why like now at my gym, I make sure my fighters don't do that. Like I was not eating enough calories for sure. Like below you're supposed to eat 45 calories per lean muscle mass now to make sure you don't hit REDS, which is relative energy deficit syndrome. And I definitely was below that. So, and I was overtraining because I trained, my coach trained me, but then I went and trained myself as well at home as well. Cause I'm an intense person. As well as like, I didn't understand the importance of balancing life as well. Like stress can impact your training as well. So yeah, a lot of females lose their period because it's called amenorrhea, depending on how long you lose it for. I lost mine for about a year and a half, 2 years. I've only just got it back past 6 months. That's a sign of REDS. If that is crucial, because if you get REDS, then you can be susceptible to like bone injuries because your bone density goes down. Yeah,
because your body's just pulling everything.
You see fighters break their hips all the time because of that, because of their poor nutrition. So that's what I learned, as well as like being smart with your training. Like I used to run 10 kilometers on a Sunday because I was like, it's Sunday, I could just do that. That's my rest. That used to be my rest day. And I did run 10
Ks.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I used to run like 5 to 10 in the morning and then 5 in the evening, just like Thai style, just like we're taught.
This is what 5Ks.
I don't do that now. Yeah, I do not do that now. It's just, we're not training to be like marathon runners. We're training to be fighters. So yeah, I guess I learned the hard way. As well as like with uni, I was full-time at uni and I was full-time at work and training as well. And as well, my living circumstances, that year I had 9 fights. I moved houses 7 times.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I was going, that's probably why I fought, because I had to like channel my anger into something. But yeah, now I'm like, my last 2 fights is like, you can just tell my life is like perfect. Like not perfect, but like I know now to listen to my body. Sometimes less is more. To focus on nutrition is priority. Getting sleep is priority. Making sure that you are not taking too many shifts at work. Like invest in yourself. Like take the day off and relax so you can be a better like athlete at training. Yeah. Rather than trying to do it all.
Yeah. So during that time, your nutrition you were saying was poor.
Yeah.
What was it? So it wouldn't have been poor like you were eating junk food.
It just wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough.
So many fighters don't eat enough. Like I know that because like I work. I illegally for me to be able to work with people, but I work with my friends and family. Yeah. And people aren't eating enough. Yeah, like it's so obvious. And they get shocked when they do work with me because straight away they're like, this is so much food. I'm like, yep.
Sure. Well, so explain what you were eating in that period, like in a day.
Okay, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Okay, so my breakfast was like a little pear, a little Pro yogurt.
That's it?
And I wouldn't eat till 10 o'clock. Yeah.
So that's, what time did you wake up?
Probably around 6 and I trained and I just didn't eat till 10.
Far out.
Yeah. And then my lunch would be salad and chicken.
Wow.
No carbs. And then before training, I would have like a little bowl of oats, but it was literally 1/4 cup of oats.
And that was it?
Yeah. With like banana and honey. And that was it. And then after training, I would have like a steak and salad. I had no idea. I was like 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea. And I'm so shocked that my body was able to train as hard as it did.
Yeah.
I noticed
that's a decent period as well, like a year.
Yeah, I noticed because I got a nutritionist called the Elite Fight Nutritionist, Sarah. She did my nutrition for my last fight and the fight before that.
Yeah,
and that was my first 9 fights. I didn't cut weight. I just fought at what I walked around at.
Really?
Yeah, I've walked around at 54, 55 and I just fought at that.
So there was no weight cutting?
No. And I was tiny, I was so tiny, looked like a little 12-year-old. But I still fought so strong, which was, I don't know how I did it. But yeah, my first I never got tired either. My first fight camp with a nutritionist.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on steroids. I felt so strong. I could go on for ages. I felt all my muscles fill out, and it was like amazing. And like the weight cut was easy because I was still eating more food than I ever had. Yeah, it was pretty cool. The difference.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So that was what you did before that kind of diet, and then what would you eat like on a day, like a normal training day today?
Now,
yeah.
A lot.
A lot
I
more.
have seven meals, and I try and split up. So split them all up evenly, as well as periodizing when I have carbohydrates as well. I can tell you like the calculations more of what, or would you rather like meals?
Well, let's go both. Let's go with meals so that we know a direct comparison.
It's like all the same. Like I would have like 20 grams of protein, which would be like half cup of whatever I'm eating. And like my carbohydrates, like if I was training twice a day in the morning, it would be like nice quick carbs. So like it would fuel me for my training, as well as if I was training twice a day afterwards, I would have the same. And then for lunch, something more slower digesting throughout the day. Yeah. And then before training in the evening, something nice and quick as well. And then after training, I used to think that you need heaps of like carbs, but you only need like 1-to-1 ratio. So like 30 to 30, because you can just fuel yourself back in the morning anyway. If you're wanting to lose weight, don't take this professional advice. It's just me learning.
Yeah, experimenting yourself.
Yeah, but I eat a lot more. I guess, for example, we'll go through a day where I train twice a day. So in the morning, I usually have like Nutri-Grain with a coffee, which is I time 45 minutes to an hour before training, because that's when it hits you. Yeah. It makes you feel way less tired. It makes you feel like you're on steroids. With protein powder in my Nutri-Grain as well.
Oh, yes.
Banana as well.
That's underrated. People don't do that enough. I reckon.
You need to.
I used to do Wheat Bix with my chocolate protein powder.
Yeah. Yeah, you need protein in order, so you're like for your muscles when you're training and stuff like that. I can't go into the science because I can't really remember right now in this moment. And then after training, I usually like, if I was doing strength, I wouldn't really worry because I don't sweat that much. Sometimes I do a little, wouldn't worry about electrolytes. But if I'm doing like a boxing PT, do them quite often, I'll have a Gatorade or Trainaid, but my Trainaid still hasn't delivered. And then I'll have something like high GI, so white rice or just white bread with eggs straight away after, and then lunch would usually be, I try to do like low GI. I like pasta at the moment. I'm obsessed with pasta. Or like you can have a wrap, just like something with not heaps of carbs, but carbs to get you throughout the day. And like I always make sure everything's high in protein. Fats, you don't really have to worry about fats as long as they're 1 gram per body weight. But if you're someone who needs to have tasty food, sometimes you can increase your fat and lower your carb just a little bit just to get the taste. But too many people just don't eat carbs and it annoys me. And then before training, I can have cereal or like raisin toast, just something that's yum. Because like by that time of the day, I can't be bothered eating.
You've eaten so much already?
Yeah. And it's just like so much effort. And then just before training, like half an hour, 45 minutes, so much food. Before I usually have like honey or dates or like apricots, something like that I can quickly, or like corn fins with honey, but that's like an hour and a half. Otherwise I feel sick at training. Yeah,
so you could try to keep an hour
it's
and a half.
really important timing when you eat food and figuring out what works for you.
Exactly, because
everyone's different, especially like some days I treat myself and have like Nutella and banana and stuff like that to keep me going. And then after training, because I finish training at 9 o'clock at night, so by the time I get home it's like 9:20. It's really horrible. So I usually have like anything heated up in the microwave. So I usually make like a bulk stir fry or like anything that's so easy with like rice. Like it's usually turkey mince or lean beef mince or like what are those little mixed beans?
Yep.
I love using those because they're cheap because I'm stingy. And yeah, just being careful with the what vegetables you use before you go to sleep as well, because if you like use vegetables that you roast up, they can keep like the digestion in your stomach like hell bloated and you can't sleep. So I usually try and have fresh salad. Yeah.
So if I want to have like for dinner at 8 o'clock, roasting sweet potato or pumpkin.
After you train though, like your body's freaking out about so many different things. I just try to keep it simple.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and like low volume as well. That's why I have like 30 to 40 grams of carbs, because I just I can't sleep if I'm having a big meal before bed.
And then so you go to bed around what, 10:30, 11?
Oh yeah, if I'm not scrolling on Instagram.
And then the next morning, what time are you up again?
Usually 6 or 7. I usually just try and keep the same routine.
Yeah.
So like even if I have the day off, I'll try and get up at that time. But I like to some days, if I'm training in the morning, not eat carbs to practice what is it called? Carbohydrate utilization. So sometimes your body can be able to train without it. So I wouldn't do that before strength training. I wouldn't do it before a boxing PT where I need to concentrate. I just do it before like a light run or something.
Oh, really?
Or if I'm doing like training by myself on the bag.
I've done a bit of experimenting with that. I do a bit of intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
I do usually Mondays, Saturdays and Sundays I just do whatever. But Monday to Saturday I usually have, like, I'll do both my workouts, which I do 2 workouts in the morning, and then I'll eat from 12 to about 8 in the day. So I do, like this morning, did 6 a.m. Muay Thai class and then did my weights at 8:30.
How do you train without food?
Just coffee.
It's like, geez,
yeah, but
it's like Bryony before she understood.
Yeah. Once we're used to it, your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
You don't actually, you get used to it, because at the start it was more of the high intensity training. That's when like you notice a big difference there, because you don't have any blood sugar, so your body naturally you got a lower intensity.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, and you, like you were saying, you eat your carbs after, then you get your body just into a cycle of storing it and then be able to release it and use it in your workouts that way. I find it, just for me, I find it better.
Works for you.
Yeah, it kind of works for me. And I don't train heavy as well, because if I usually felt, if I ate a lot of food, even if it was an hour or something before, I'd feel heavy. Yeah. Just feel heavy. And then I wasn't able to go as hard or train as intensely, because I feel that food's still in there. And then after as well, I wasn't able to eat as much, or just my appetite after was so suppressed and wasn't able to eat much after.
Wow. That's interesting.
So just before you came, I did smash down 3 eggs, 4 pieces of bacon, a bit of turkey mince, and a little bit of a couscous salad.
Yeah.
Smash that, and then I won't eat again until tonight and have a big ass steak.
Wow.
For dinner.
Yeah, I like spreading it out. Otherwise, I just can't. Got a little stomach.
Have you read much into like the carnivore diet or anything?
I usually just listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've listened to the carnivore diet on like Joe Rogan and stuff like that. And there's someone I follow. I forgot what his name is, but his wife does it and she's insane. Like her body fat is so low, but she's still so healthy. I don't understand it. But
people weird.
Yeah, she's on the carnivore diet.
I did.
Crazy.
I tried to do that, but I went, it's pretty intense, like pretty hardcore. Like you want to eliminate everything, which is probably not long term. It's probably not the best thing to eliminate everything.
We are not taught to do that.
The elimination diet is probably the worst. But I did like an animal-based diet, like a 30-day kind of challenge type thing. So like I still eat like, it's called like low toxicity plants and low toxicity fruits, that sort of stuff. So I had like sweet potato, pumpkin, carrots, that sort of stuff. Used to roast them all the time. And then fruits, I would eat bananas, dates, and all. So prioritize those like after training, or like dates I would have before.
Yeah.
And like as like a snack, sometimes I'd have cut my dates up and put a little slice of butter, salted butter in it, and it tasted so nice, like a little salty and sweet. That was my little like sweet fix I was able to get in. But other than that, a lot of grass-fed meats, and I actually played around with organ meats as well, like liver.
Liver's so good for you because it's high in like phosphocreatine, and that's like what fuels your like sprinting and stuff like that, like high intensity stuff.
I don't know that. I just know that was full of like iron and vitamin Bs, all the stuff. I did that. So liver and a beef heart. That's actually really nice because it's actual muscle tissue. So it's not like organ meats is weird. like this weird texture to it.
Yeah.
But beef heart, because it's a muscle tissue, once you cook it, you actually don't realize, like, if you're eating, you're like, oh, that actually tastes like meat. But when you see it cooking, it's kind of gross you out a little bit. Once you eat it, it's fine.
I need to delve into this.
And I had beef kidney. That's kind of don't
go there.
I personally recommend to not do that because it tastes like piss.
Okay. Ooh.
Unless you have to actually. I did it once. I soaked it in milk, and then because the milk has a low pH, and its kidney has very high, this pulls it out.
Yeah.
But then you're wasting milk.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, well, might as well not bother.
Yeah.
People eat that the kidneys and heart and liver, eat it raw.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. That's real like tribal.
It's intense stuff. I'm just imagining, because I work at Woolworths, like seeing all the little packaging in the.
when I went to Woolies, I had a nice big long bone. I used to cook it as bone marrow, and it looked like a big shank of like your leg.
Yeah.
Of the leg. And I was walking around Woolies and I was just being a dick. I had it like in my hip and I was like walking like out of the bone like next to my leg, and I was using it as walking. The little kid came and was like full staring at me. Like, and my girlfriend was like, don't do that. You're scaring the kids. Oh goodness. So you've incorporated strength training into your Muay Thai
Yes.
How'd you find that transition?
So good. So I'm working with Jacob Parr.
Mm-hmm.
I've known Jacob Parr since he was 12. We're both extremely like smart people. We're both very dedicated at what we do. So I knew he's the perfect person to have on board.
Mm-hmm.
He's smashed out his bachelor's already, and he's doing his master's at the moment in sports, exercise science and exercise rehab.
Oh, cool.
I just knew he was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I always told him, I'm going to work with you one day. And then one day I just told him, let's do it. It was end of your uni semester last year. It's been 30 weeks now.
Oh, wow.
I'm his guinea pig, but I'm a really good guinea pig. I'll show up to training every time he programs me to. And we're just getting better and better. And I know him. I know he will spend like hours and hours researching what he's supposed to do with fighters. And now he's got me on board. He's got Killen Papani. She's had 3 fights, 3 wins. She's a 70-kilogram fighter. She's also dating Stefan Lottering. And Stefan Lottering's on board with Jacob as well. He's ranked number 5 on WBC. So he's got us, as well as some Brazilian jiu-jitsu athletes. And he's still studying at uni, and he's like juggling all that as well. He's such a good bloke. But in terms of the strength training, I've never had it influence my Muay Thai in terms of bringing it down, only like up. Like I feel like I have so much power now. Like my coach is very old school. So like he doesn't believe in all that, but like he's believing how like, because I'm getting so much more stronger and like more like fast, and like he's said a few complimentary things to me lately that in regards to the power I've been able to hit on pads and stuff like that. So it's getting good. I can't wait to fight. Like I've had only one fight with Jacob's strength conditioning, but that was like 8 weeks into it. Now it's been like 30, so I can't wait to fight again and see how much of a different fighter I am because of it.
So what was the kind of change in thought? Like you obviously weren't doing strength training before.
So I have like Max McVicker. Do you know who he is?
No.
So he's in the Muay Thai scene. He's had over he is from England with his father, which is my coach, and he had over 100 amateur fights before he came over here. He's had about 20 pro fights. He's only just turned 19, so it's been hard to get him fights as he's been injured every now and then. But he beat Zach Arneson for the WBC Australian title at 61 kilos. He just fought Singh Payak on Muay Thai Grand Prix. Excellent performance. He's just beyond worlds. So he's been my mentor basically throughout like my fight career, and he told me I need to invest in fighting first. So in terms of that, I invested in a boxing coach first, invested in my nutrition first, and strength conditioning came last. And now I have all those. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I've had 11 fights, so it only took until my 10th fight to invest in a strength coach. So I took my time and got my resources all together before I did have a strength coach before, but it was so expensive. Yeah. Jacob's my mate, so mate rates.
Okay, he looks after you.
Yeah.
That's good. So you were saying before how you fight at your walk around weight, which was 53 kilo, 54 kilos.
Yeah.
Now that you say you have to cut down, how much muscle do you know how much muscle you've put on from training?
So much muscle, hey, like so much.
Because there's a few photos on your Instagram, like there's actually a stark difference from like one of your, I think you had it up maybe a week or so ago, like you and your white get up, and then
that
most
fight
nights
was
one.
horrible. So that was my. Oh, okay. So, I'm a very driven person. I have goals, but if I fully embrace that, there's too much tension, and I don't get what I want. So I'm someone who has to reel it back and just relax, and I'll just be able to achieve anything, if that makes sense. And at that point in my career, I was so like focused on achieving this, getting exactly that. I wasn't just looking at what the obstacle ahead, which is what you should be doing. I believe, rather than like, focusing on the end goal, you focus on what is you have to do today. So obviously I was so focused on having so many fights within such a short amount of time. I made all those mistakes. And in that fight where I fought Sim Semi for the first time, I went into it. I had a whole week, that whole fight week, I was in bed, fevers, shivering, like
really?
Cold sweats every night because I was so sick from being so overtrained and so malnourished, and my iron levels were whacked, and like everything was just so dead. And by the time I fought her, I was dead. After the first 10 seconds, I have no memory of the fight because I was just exhausted. And it was really sad to just like, I've never felt so like horrible after a fight. I didn't even eat my Get Chunky cookies. I punished myself. And then, I think that's when that was when was that? And then I fought after that. But I spoke to one of my friends and she showed me how to eat more in terms of my nutrition. And I fought Sim at 53. My next fight after that was 53. It was my first unpadded fight. That whole camp, I literally ate above my maintenance, living in surplus, and I still weighed in like under 53.
Really?
So I was so depleted for so long. And I even still felt the effects of what I went through in that fight. And then my next fight after that, I fought the same person and there's championships, and at the championships, it's the same day weigh-in, 3 days in a row. So still walking around at that weight. And then I fought in Thailand. And when I was in Thailand, I told all the girls, because I had good fighters at my gym. So I had Erin Carroll, she's a fighter from Scotland. She's still there now. She's like ranked number 6 in WBC. I had Malena. She fought Sourcing, which is a really well-known fighter in Thailand. She's ranked number 1 in WBC as well. And I had a few other really high-level girls at that gym, and they kept asking me, why do you fight at 53? You're so small. You should fight 48, 46.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And then I was in Thailand. I was walking around at 57, and I didn't understand why they were telling me I should be lighter. Obviously, because I was so depleted, so weak. And it wasn't throughout that Corona period that I built up all my nutrition. And near the end of Corona, I got a nutritionist, and it probably took until after my last fight that I'm finally back to normal. Where was I going in the beginning?
You're telling the story. You're about
what I walk around at?
Yeah, what you're walking around at, and then the
So it took me a while to build up my weight, and it wasn't until after Corona I got back to like 59, 60. Iron levels getting back to normal, and I was still a bit chubby back like at 60. It wasn't that muscly, and I fought Sim for the second time, right? So my first time I fought her, I just complete mess. And the second time I fought her, if you watch the commentary, Kaylee Reese is on point. Like I came in a different person. I had a whole year of focusing on, like I knew I could beat her the first time, like in terms of my skills. I knew it. That's why I was so upset about losing. So the second time, it literally was me having to dial back what I am and what I do. So I had to, I like in my fight camps, I have to do less. Because I always do so much and relax more, and, don't go full 100% at training all the time. Slow down, I listened to my coach, but I never asked questions.
Okay.
Like it wasn't until after Corona that I started speaking at my gym. Now I walk around and like I talk all the time, but I was never out there. I just never asked, why am I doing this? Why are you teaching this? What should I do here? I never asked those questions until like there's this point in my life where I actually started listening to what I needed rather than just focusing on a goal. So that fight camp, I focused for like 10, 11 weeks for Sim because that was my first fight out of the first massive lockdown that we had.
Yep.
It was on Muay Thai Grand Prix. And that was the first time I had a nutritionist, and I also had I did boxing PTs every week with Danny Hayes and Mandra.
Yep.
And that was like the first time, because when my gym came back from the lockdown, we changed how we trained. We made it fighters only classes because we're a small gym.
Yeah.
We don't get much people, but we started doing just fighters train longer.
Yeah.
Like after people leave, so we have time to hit pads, have time to spar and stuff like that. And you could just see it in the fight. I literally didn't, like, even my last fight, I just never out of breath, could go for ages. Felt so strong, felt so quick, skillful because I was eating right. And I was actually not overtraining, and I was actually sleeping, and I was actually not working 40 hours a week at work. I did what I needed. Massive difference. Yeah. And I definitely did put on muscle because I have had body scans done, and I got body scan done, like a DEXA scan.
Yep.
And I've had those ones where you stand.
Yeah.
They're rubbish compared to the DEXA. Like, they always say I'm hell muscly, but the DEXA scan's like, no, you're not. You're actually
Crush
much higher body fat percentage. And I was like, so I can fight lower than I do. But yeah, there has been my amount of fat has gone. Like, I've gotten leaner and more muscle as well.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's good.
Yeah. And the fact that I've only had to cut weight 2 times in my life, I still feel like a little newbie. And like, it's kind of cool that I've been able to win fights against girls, me walking around at that weight, which is cool.
Because really, you should be able to, if you're the heavier fighter in there, you should have the advantage. Of the time.
Yeah. They've done studies and they've proved that that's not, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. There was a little stat that came out.
Yeah. That they pulled out I think it was most of the UFC Institute performance. All their records. They sussed it all out. I've heard it on the Fight Dietitian podcast, and that was kind of cool knowing that, because I'm a very midget. I'm tinier than everyone I fight, and it doesn't make sense because I'm so muscly and I'm so strong, and I'm always smaller in height and smaller in width.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I have to fight like a little wuss sometimes, which I hate doing. I'm always the less physically strong one, so I always have to like go in and out and move to the side and stuff like that.
So that's kind of the biggest challenge.
Yeah, is I'm always
fighting
smaller.
Yeah.
But it's good because then I always have to fight like the smaller fighter.
How do you fight? So that's more...
So like I never have to change my game plan, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
But it always, like, my coach's style is... Like, we don't, like, everyone from our gym fights differently.
Yeah.
And especially on the night, like, whoever I'm fighting, I'll fight differently. I don't come out the same every single time. I'm always a different fighter. Like, there's some fights I've had to fight on the back foot and kick. Some fights I've had to walk forward and clinch. Some fights I've just been aggressive. Like, it depends on what show I'm fighting on, who I'm fighting on, what state you're in. Everything scores differently. But my coach's style is so adaptable, and he's so smart. He's been doing... he's from the UK, so a lot of gyms over here don't understand how amazing he is. He's had over 30 years experience. Yeah, so over there, the scene's crazy. Kids are fighting every weekend because they have like tournament style fights. That's why Max racked up over 100 by the time he was 12. That's why, George Mann, he's had over 100 amateur fights as well, because over there, like in Europe, they're all so close to each other, they can fight all the time. Yeah, so my coach has had that experience as well. He's worked alongside other really experienced coaches from like the UK. And when I have him in my corner, I just feel like no one can beat me because he's that great. And I always listen to him. And when you have a fighter who listens to their coach and you go out there and you do exactly what he says, you can never lose because you're doing what your coach says.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have like scouting, like scouting, but do you go when you get matched with the fighter, do you go back and look up like footage from their previous fights to see what they do, or
you
don't do that? But
can do that. Like most of my fights, I haven't been able to do that because I haven't had much fights. Yeah, I always first girls with more fights than me, but no, my coach is that good that he can see what they do within like the first minute. And
also, he's adapting in the fight.
Yeah,
and he gives you the message.
And even he can look at photos of them fighting and just go, "Oh, that will work." Or like this will work. He's so smart. It's crazy. And his son Max is exactly the same. Like their level of IQ is beyond this world. And because their IQ is so high, we have a lot of fighters at our gym who are like 12 and 13 whose IQ is crazy and they beat me up all the time just because they're so smart.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you've been fighting for such a long time, it comes the more you see stuff, the more that happens, you soak it in.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I love Muay Thai, because every time you fight or every time you have like a little sparring club or each week your mind opens up more and sees more patterns and opportunities. And yeah, that's why I really think people should study Muay Thai outside of training. Like watch fights on YouTube, watch coaches who explain things, because that gets you up to level so much more quicker, because you're exposing yourself to different perspectives, not just where you train as well. And that's why I like the gym that I'm at, because I can we always discuss. We'll spend like 10, 15 minutes like after training discussing why we are doing this, why this works that way. Or like say if someone has a fight on the weekend and they do great, we work on that, or they do crap, that we work on that. Like we're not always doing the same things every day. We adapt to what we do at training according to where our gaps are at this moment, if that makes sense. I feel like most gyms stick to their patterns. And I feel like we're unique in that way because we're small. We can take a step back and, this person's done this wrong on the weekend. You guys might not all do it, but we all need to work on it, if that makes sense.
Exactly, yeah. Because it's not so much about the members. Like it's more about getting the fighters to fight better, and they only have to have
and
like
not repeating the same mistakes. Like we shouldn't be like say if my first few fights, my mistake with nutrition, we should not ever do that again. So what I've done is every single fighter that fights now, I'll do their nutrition for them so they're not making the same mistake, or like I will help guide them and stuff like that. Like we have open discussions, because I feel like what works for you won't work for others, but it's better letting people know how you've done it so they can take something from it rather than just chucking them in the deep end. And that's why I love, like I know at Champions, they do like mentors. You have a mentor that helps you when you fight. That's what I think Brody had at Victoria. And I found that so cool that she was doing this. Like she didn't have a fight coming up, but she was doing the same fight training as Victoria to learn how what happens, what to expect. I find that really cool.
Yeah, that does help.
If
you got someone who's there can be able to help you, just kind of that first kind of, just to help you break it down just a little bit. Like just because if you go with someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or they're going in blind, it's like their first time, it's always good to have someone to lean on,
what to expect,
support.
Yeah, that's why I feel like being really open, and as well as a coach
empowering.
as well, like being able to have a coach where you can ask questions, why are we doing this, so you understand the importance of it rather than just doing it. That makes sense. Yeah, so no, we're very at Freelance Gym something though, we're very community orientated, like that, family orientated. We don't just do things by ourselves. It's like I have Josh who's always there to show me what he can, like he fights a certain way and his style, he teaches me what he does, and I might or might not adapt that to the way I train or the way I fight, but I'd always take it on board. And then like I'll even listen to Callum, who's 13 years old, and his style is beautiful. He's like a little mini Liam Harrison, and I love listening to what he says and what he sees, because if we all view things differently, I feel like if you have an ego and you're not taking anything in, you're going to run yourself into a wall eventually.
Yeah, because it's only so far you can go before you start. Like you have to be humbled.
Yeah.
Be knocked down a bit so you can learn and you can rise up.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find like your style, does it not match so well against others? Is there something that kind of is like your kryptonite, so to speak?
I know. I feel like my coach makes me fight. Well, I've had 11 fights, so I don't really have a set way I fight yet.
Okay, yep.
Like he believes it takes, like your first 10 fights are just fun, just learning. Like you win or you lose, but you're in there to fully experience, and then it gets serious afterwards. And then around like your 20 fights, you should know how you fight by now. But like I still am learning so much about myself. But I feel like because my coach speaks to me the way he does in the corner, I always fight in terms of exploiting other people's weaknesses. Yeah. So seeing patterns and stuff like that, and like catching them out. Like in my last fight, every single time. Because I fought Shannon Peake. She's tough as nails. She's from Bailey. She's fought like a lot of the local girls I was so scared to fight her because I knew she's so big, and she's fought literally like Nicola Calendar, Kerry McKay and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, they're such big names. This is scary. But when I fought her, and I knew she'd have really good boxing, and I knew every time she stepped on her front foot that she'd put so much weight on it, and she doesn't check. So we knew that going into the fight. That wasn't the game plan. I didn't practice low kicks in my fight camp. I just practiced at what I'm good at. And I did like low kicks every now and then. I'm not confident at low kicks. I'm no way. But in that fight, I did millions of them and they landed every single time and like they worked. And you like, it's like life. You can't go in it with a plan, but you got to be ready to adapt. So I didn't have confidence in my low kicks, but whoop, I'm in a fight and I have to, and this is how I'm going to win. Better start having confidence right now in this moment. So I did. And I won that fight because every time she stepped on her front foot, I chopped at her leg and it took away her confidence in doing other things.
Yeah. You take away your power as well if you can't step on that front foot. You can't establish jab. Lose power. What was kind of the most intimidating experience or the most intimidating kind of factor going into like your first fights? What was most intimidating?
Don't know. I don't get scared. I get excited. Like fighting. I'd rather do so many things in life. Like if I'm sitting at like before a job interview, but I'd rather be in the ring right now. But if I had to pick an experience in terms of that, it was like a pivotal moment. It would be my fight in Thailand. That was absolute ridiculousness. And like I haven't lost since then because of what I've learned from that. So I replaced Milena, a girl who was at Sutai, her position, and she had fought like I don't know specifically, like 6 or 10 fights in Thailand. And in Thailand, you got to work your way up to certain stadiums, certain opponents in order to be able to fight them. And they just chucked me in because obviously that gym wanted some money or they just wanted that fight to go. So I was more than happy to fight. I just went over there to have that experience. And when I got there, it was just like so different to Australia where you have like a walkout, you have your whole team there, you get like rubbed down, everything feels so good. But when you're in Thailand, it was just like, yep, you're here to fight, quickly put your wraps on. And then you're sitting there next to your opponent and you're like, then you walk out and then I realized she was like 15 kilos heavier than me. And it was just, the fact that she was so big, I didn't fight. I literally just tapped around and try to like stay away from her as much as I could and outscore her on the outside. But she literally would pick me up and throw me on the ground. And when you get thrown onto the ground in Thailand, you lose. And then in between the 4th and 5th round, I got told that she was Thailand champion. So 57 kilos at like their version of Thailand boxing championships, TBC. And then, like from that, what I took from that fight was me never, ever let the fear of someone being bigger, more skillful, let me beat them, like let them beat me because of that. And you could see my heart was not in it. I need to have heart in Muay Thai. So that's what I took from that fight. A lot of people who I've shown the video to were like, oh, that's amazing. You went over there and did that. But no, it's not good enough. I was absolute rubbish and I shouldn't ever fight like that again. And I never will. And that was my 8th fight, my 2nd fight professional. And that was probably her like 100th. But yes, since then, that's been one of my little goals. I low-key want to fight girls bigger than me and more experienced just because I never want to let that hold me back. And I guess Shannon in that sense, we've both weighed in at 55, but she's a 57 kilogram fighter and I'm a 53 kilogram fighter. She was so much taller than me and she was more experienced. And that was like, okay, this is exactly what happened to me in Thailand. So I'm not going to let that, like, this is me testing myself again in the same circumstances, sort of, if that makes sense. So like, I know in long term in my fight career, I do want to fight the girls at 55 because there's like my role models are at 55 and I want to fight them eventually one day. So I do want to get strong at that weight. I feel comfortable at 53, but 55, I don't, but I will take fights at that weight if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's,
you want to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you should, if you start like continue on to like your strength conditioning, put on some mass, some strength, that 55 will become like naturally.
That should be the plan. I was talking that with Kaylee Reese. Like, I can cut down to 52, 51, but I'll be dead. If I cut down to 53, it's perfect for me. If I cut to 55, it's not even a cut. I'm not even dieting, if that makes sense. Yeah. But like the more I go on my career, the older I get as well. I won't be able to cut as much and I'll just get stronger. And learn to fight the style that I need to at 55 because I know I'm going to always be the smaller and probably maybe weaker. Like I won't be able to take as many shots because I am like smaller. So I'll get tired more easier. So to be able to adapt my style for when I do fight at that weight and not stand there and bang, but move.
Yeah, evasive.
Yeah.
Interesting. So hypothetically, going to a fight against a bigger opponent, it's more like evasive, so you want to step away. Do you want to kind of stay on the outside with those girls, or
So you
because you're
just
smaller?
got to move.
Yeah.
I won't be able to. If I stay on the outside, they'll just pick me off.
Mm.
And if I stay it's going to work, but it's not going to work. So you win the fight. You need to win the fight. So when I do move off and when I am in to score, to take advantage of that, like let my hands go, let my kicks go, and then I'm back out. It's frustrating for them.
Do you always have to concede getting hit a couple of times to go in, or not? No, don't get hit.
If you train alongside someone called Joshua Day, you don't have to get hit. He's funny. Yeah, he's very, very like snaky. So eventually I'll probably learn a bit of his style, but you don't have to. You can learn not to. You can be skillful enough, but sometimes you just can't stop it. But yeah, I always reckon you can learn.
What's the biggest weakness a taller opponent has is their ability to move? Or
yeah, like I feel like because I'm so small, I'm very like my cardio is like insane. I can always move all the time, and it's exhausting having to chase someone around as well as like they can't get in their rhythm because as soon as they stop, like I'll do something, I'll like break that rhythm, if that makes sense. And it's frustrating. It's like a mental game. When you fight, especially at the top level, you can be just as skillful and just as strong and just have perfect attributes. But if you're not there mentally, you're screwed. And I think that's the end game in everything. So like being able to take that away from someone when you're fighting them is my favorite style. I actually have a saying for it. Taking souls. So if I lose a fight, I'll be like, I took their soul. I won.
That's crazy. That's the second time I've heard someone say breaking the rhythm. Like we were doing some ring work the other day, and we were like working out of the corner and that, and it was all about like breaking the rhythm and trying to get them and then be able to move outside. Yeah. So that's a good point. Just made me remember. Rhythm, like that's the first thing I teach my kids is to have rhythm. And like they're standing there and they're like this, their little like legs and their little body, and I'm like, good, have rhythm, because from there you can block, you can kick, you can reply. And like I like to call it rhythm as well for that reason, if that makes sense. So I feel like you're strong when you have your rhythm. Yeah. Good base.
Yeah.
You're almost relaxed as well. You notice
it, like even when Max fought Singh Payak, he could block, kick back straight away because he's always backing his rhythm. And that's what from the very beginning, from training, I'd sit there and I'd watch him hit pads, and I'd sit there and watch him spar, and I just try to emulate that for myself. And like now when I fight, I don't say I'm like him, but like a lot of things I do comes from him, and I'm like took it so much from him that you can see it when I do fight. When I fought Sim, because she was southpaw, all I did was block, kick back, and I slapped my big right kick across her because she was southpaw. Your right kick, it just lands beautifully against them like all day. And I love doing that. And we were like the same similar size, so I could sort of stand there and bang, if that makes sense.
Stand there and bang.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. People who listen to this podcast probably like, it's sitting there and bang and just punch each other in the face. It's crazy. They're taking your soul.
Yeah. Taking souls.
Do you find, like for me, going in, if I was ever to go into a fight, elbows would be one of the things I'd be like, fuck that.
Oh, yeah, like you have like a little consensus kind of thing. Like sometimes if you don't elbow, they won't elbow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm so lucky. I've only been elbowed 2 times. And my first time it was a black eye. And then the second time was my last fight and just gave me a little knobbly thing on my head. But I haven't been cut, and I haven't cut someone, which I'm so excited to do. Yeah. It's
crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have you had any any injuries or anything like that to come out of a fight?
No, I get more injuries from training. I feel like when you fight, you should be, you've done all the hard work. You shouldn't be like damaging yourself that much. I'm only little, so I don't get that hurt. Yeah. I'm a little woman. Like my brother, when he fights, it's like, whoop, if you get hurt yourself too much, you might not be able to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, after your fights, you straight back into training the next day or 2 days?
I used to. But now I go in and take photos. I don't train, but I don't train till like the Thursday, Wednesday. So I give myself like 3 days off. But even when I do go back to training, it's not training. It's just moving your body, active recovery.
Yeah.
That's a really important thing. A lot of fighters make themselves sick. Even in lead up to fights, they train too hard too early. If you look at Riddler's gym, they have like 2 weeks of power phase, and then they have a taper phase. That 2 weeks of intense training is perfect amount. You don't need to do any like more than that, if that makes sense. And if you're doing a fight camp that's nice and long, then why are you letting yourself get so unfit outside of like when you need a fight? If that makes sense.
Yep.
Like there's a perfect balance of overtraining and undertraining. But yeah, afterwards it's just like you need to keep a routine. If you don't go, like if a fighter doesn't go back into the gym straight away, it'd be so hard to get back into that routine. That's why I still show up and I contribute to like the community in a different way rather than just training, because we're such a small gym. Like if I don't show up, the vibes change. Like we're all there for each other.
That's crazy. There you go.
Yeah.
So what else do you outside of Muay Thai? Is that just work and study? That's all you got?
Yeah. So like I work at Woolies, do that for like my little money. And then I train my kids. I've trained for Muay Thai. I do my strength training. I also have a few people that do their nutrition for. And then other than that, I spend my spare time trying to learn. So like to do things. So at the moment, I'm trying to like learn how to actually photograph photos for my gym, learning how to do their social media posts. I'm creating a website right now. I listen to podcasts constantly. Like I've always been like this since I was like, had access to technology. I'd watch documentaries before bed. I used to like be like, okay, Bryony, it's your day off. You should not be doing these things. And if I don't do those things, I just don't feel like myself. And I know you shouldn't be busy all the time, but I like to do that. I like to constantly keep learning regardless of like if it's going to benefit me or not. I like to.
It's a bit of a martial art kind of mentality there.
Yeah.
To always want to be learning. Like
it's not to be anything. It's just what I enjoy. It's what I enjoy in my spare time. Like I'd rather read a book than like, I don't know what else I would be doing. You know what I mean? Or like hanging around with intellectual friends and having like deep and meaningful conversations than like, I don't know, like partying or something, or like doing like things like tap into my childlike energy, like go to the beach and swim in the middle of the winter, or like go to time zone, like do fun things like that and as well. But just live life in terms of like what you need in that moment, not overthink it. That's what I'm like. Because I'm always on the accelerator in everything I do. So that most of the things I just taper it back.
And you kind of attribute all of that learning now from in that time in COVID, the lockdown.
Yes.
Was that a bit of like an isolate, like because you're able to think?
Well, I didn't like, it was crazy, like because I have my Snapchat and on my Snapchat I always post what I do during the day and like the things I'm learning, and they're all coming back to me now. Like a year ago today, you were doing this.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like during the lockdown, I listened to so much like not self-help, but like entrepreneurial type podcasts.
Okay.
And like I learned like the importance of sleep, and I just taught myself certain things. And I would like journal every morning and night, and like questions like, how can I be a better ex today, and be how self-reflective. And I've taken that self-reflection into what I do now. So I reflect every morning and night now.
Oh, right.
But not to a crazy, like I was doing like crazy intense stuff during COVID because I had all the spare time in the world. But now like I do that. I have a journal for Muay Thai.
Yep.
And I'll always write down every night what I learn at Muay Thai.
Yep.
And that's so cool. Like when I flick back and be like, oh, this person taught me this that night. And I do that in life as well. Like it helps me realize like, you know, each day you're working towards something as well as like you've learned to find like to be like, say I was driving along and I saw like, if I wasn't journaling, I wouldn't take a moment to look at my surroundings. I would just be focusing on the final like destination. Makes sense. So for me to be a reflective person teaches me to slow down and take like to observe what's around me. And I have to like journal to make me realize that. It's like people who say who do like tarot cards and they write what they're grateful for every morning. They do like their breathe things. That's what they do, but I do it my own little way. Journal. That makes sense.
So do you have like set like you?
No, some people have like set things, but I write. If I had it too rigid, I would crumble. I had too much tension. Like I was saying at the beginning, that too much tension. Then I just have to let it flow. Like life.
You just kind of whatever you just write down. Anything.
It's a reflection of where I am at in that point of time, and it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. It's just what it is.
You need to do it at the same time every day, or
like I do it like first thing I wake up and before I go to sleep, rather than looking at my phone.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Interesting.
Because like that's the first thing that's setting your emotions. Why are you gonna like people who flick up open their phone straight away? It's like, oh, that dopamine hit, those notifications. You're gonna be wanting that all day if you
and too much
start your
negative
day
energy
like
on that as well.
Yeah,
Especially on Twitter. Twitter is very argumentative.
oh, there's negative energy at Woolworths too, where I work. I have to there's so many complaining Karens. There's harder jobs in the world, but like to be able to ground yourself before you go to that job is kind of great.
I used to work at Macca's.
Yeah.
And there'd be that many Karens would come in and, mate, I was 15 years old or 16 years old, bloody flipping burgers, mate. I had no idea. Like,
yeah.
Jesus, crazy. So you say you're Muay Thai journaling.
Yeah.
Would that be anything specific, or is it the same kind of just let it flow?
Yeah, it's what I've learned, like techniques, what people have said, what they've pointed out, what we like did that I want to do again on my own.
Would you go in with something to focus on? Like,
never. Never. People always aspire, like, right. So when I started Muay Thai, it wasn't until around my 7th or 8th fight that I knew what Muay Thai was. Like, I didn't know how to score. I didn't know what, like, good movement. I just did it. I did it so naturally. I just did it straight away. And it wasn't until, like, just that light bulb moment, and then I started seeing it all. But some people see it all when they first begin because they're told, or like I feel like someone be like, oh, I'm going to practice my push kick today at sparring, and then you just notice that they're doing it, and they just make so many mistakes everywhere else. So like if, for example, for me, it'd just be like I just been doing what I naturally do. I notice something's working and I'll just practice it in that moment, or my coach will be like, look, you need to do this, or I'll do that. And we're a very small gym, so I'm able to work with my coach like one-on-one constantly all the time. So like just let it flow rather than, because you miss out on so many opportunities if you're trying to be a certain way. Yeah. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's like so many like different, like we're a small gym, but you have different people are good at different things.
Yeah.
So you can't practice one technique on everyone because it won't work.
No.
You need to do what you need to adapt to each person. Like I adapt to each person I fight. Then have the same attitude. That makes sense? Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. Because you don't want to be, because you go, like say, like you said, the push kick, you throw the push, but you forget about setting it up with your hands or other
or
things
you
like
just
that.
Realize that this person's like foot's turned in and you could just low kick them the whole round.
Yeah, oh, exactly right.
Things like
you
that.
You miss other things.
Yeah.
Did you find that, you say you came all so naturally, but was it being able to see other people, your opponent across from you, be able to see everything? Was that a challenge, or did that all just come?
I just did it. I don't know how. Like I look back at my first fight and I'm like, holy God, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm like, wow. Like it was so just like you can just tell. You can tell when you watch people like who are going to be good when they're like in the future. Like you just know.
What do you attribute that, like your natural kind of ability? Was that just something that's like, is it a genetic thing? Do your brothers have it, or is it just
my brother probably has it because he fights too, but I don't know. I'm discipline, hard work. It just comes so natural to me and easy. Like I notice it when I don't know. I just don't have a limit. Like if I will always go like, because my coach is very good as he will train me what I need to do. He won't overtrain me.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, say if I was trained by someone who, I don't know, was like whatever style it was, but it was like aggressive, walk forward, constantly give it 100% all the time. I would thrive in that environment, but it would burn me out, if that makes sense. So I thrive in the environment I do now, and it's tapered, so it's perfect, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like that. I don't have that's why I always like, when I fight, I'm always wanting to find that limit. I'm always wanting to be pushed to it, but I haven't yet. So which I'm really excited for my future and to verse people who are way better than me. I always want to verse people who are better than me. I never want to regress. What
do you think will happen when you find that limit? Do you think
I'm not going to find it.
You're going to just
That's the thing.
Does that scare you a little bit?
That's exciting.
That's exciting.
Yeah, because I know I can go wherever I want to go because I believe it so much within myself. And because I believe in so much of myself, so many other people have. Like, that's why I feel like I've gotten sponsors so early on in my fight career as well, because they can just see it. And I find it so amazing as well because I don't know that they can see it. And then when they tell me and I'm like, what? You can and you believe in me as much as I believe in myself. It's so surreal.
Is there a little bit of self-doubt in there a little bit, or is it just no?
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't. there's not, I don't know, like I do get upset all the time at training. Like I cry all the time because I'm frustrated because I've tried be too much. But like, that's the thing. I always know there can be more. And it's not like my coach is like, hell chill. Like this is, you could just rematch them kind of thing. Take this fight now. They might be better than you. You might end up getting beat, but you can just always rematch them. It's not the end of the world. He's hell chill like that. It's the opposite of me. I don't know. Just there's no point on doubting yourself.
It's good balance there.
Yeah. Just none.
When you first started, did you kind of, like a lot of people would think this the same as well, having like the undefeated streak or anything like that? Did you have that kind of?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I was like, I want to be like that. And then after my first loss, I lost to Fon Piggott from Gav's gym. She hasn't lost yet either.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's just got an injury, so she can't fight. But me and her message, she wants to fight me again, which is cool. But yeah, she was my first loss, and the only reason I lost to her because I didn't understand Muay Thai yet, so I wasn't doing my nutrition right, I wasn't training right, I wasn't recovering right, and I didn't know how to score. She was very technical. She fought on the back foot and picked me off, and I just didn't even know what was going on. I was just like, fight, let's fight. I used to be. If you look on the outside, I look like a brawler. Because that's just how you win your first few fights. Yeah, but I was still very technical, but you just got to push the pace in your first few fights because they're pushing the pace and they're trying to score and their flimsy shots might score. So you've got to be like as quick and as like outscore as much as you can when you're having those padded fights.
Explain for people who don't understand the scoring in Muay Thai.
It depends what state you're in.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah. So in WA and what sanction you're on as well. So like if I fought on what's Muay Thai Grand Prix sanctioned by WBC, and I think they have ISK. I'm not too sure, but if you fought like on a Muay Thai Council show, they score. Someone who fights on the back foot can win. So they're still scoring effective Muay Thai technique. They're not falling over. They're like countering what their opponent's doing and outscoring and moving off and taking like hard shots. So if you watch Eddie Duva, that's how he fought the crazy Nathan Ellington, who was going forward and just going aggressive, and Eddie would just chop his leg every single time and outscore that way, and eventually he stopped him because he fought like on his back foot, very smart fighter. But for example, if I fought on like an ISK show maybe, or just like a show, I don't want to like say certain shows, but like there's shows where I'm like, how did they lose or how did they win? And they might score punches just as much as kicks, or they might score the person who walks forward more. I don't know. It's just weird sometimes. Like when I fought in Muay Thai Australia in Queensland, I know in Queensland you will have more chance of winning if you're walking forward and being aggressive because you're showing ring control. But I don't understand. You can have ring control on the back foot as well. Yeah. And it also depends if you're like amateur or pro. It's different and you never know what to expect. So that's why just try and outscore. If someone trades you with like 3 shots, you do 4. If like they do jab, hook, cross, you do jab, hook, cross, kick, and then they do jab, cross, hook, kick, knee, then you sweep, like you outscore them every single time. Never let them have the first say or the last say. You have the first say and the last say kind of thing.
People don't understand fighting. It's a lot more cerebral. Like you really have to think while you fight. You don't just go out and throw punches and throw kicks.
I've learned everything I've learned in terms of that is from Max McVicker and Dave, my coach. Like they are insane, and they can sit there and argue for hours about how things work, and I'll just listen and be like, whoa. They're the reason why I understand Muay Thai. I don't understand fighting. I understand Muay Thai. There's it's like a whole different world out there.
Do you see yourself going off and doing anything else other than like another martial art?
I want to do MMA. 100% want to. I know I'm 21 and like, I don't know. I want to at least have one MMA fight, but I would love to see how far I could go in that. But I know in Muay Thai I can go really far, if that makes sense. Like I know I can go all the way to the top in Muay Thai. And like I speak to the because I was at an MMA fight show, Eternal, because I was helping with Victoria Recovery Systems, like gel the fighters before they walked out, and all the chicks there from what's it called? Like the people who like the sport people who make sure like the weigh-ins are right. What are they called? Like they're not the judges, but they represent the body of combat sports in like Western Australia, and they try and make sure things are all right. I've got the commission were there, and they're like, "Oh, so you can do MMA now?" I'm like, Not yet, but yeah,
Don't
I'm only
recognition yet.
young. I feel like I'm only young, and I've only been in the sport for such a short amount of time, so my body's not screwed up yet. I see 21-year-olds who've been doing it since they're 5, and their body's screwed. But like, I've got so much like in the tank still.
Do you feel like because obviously you've done judo, Muay Thai, that obviously those two would help.
Yeah,
MMA.
I watch MMA and I adore it. Like, so many Muay Thai fighters who are just like, ugh. But like, I have time for it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
I'm not going to force a path on myself. I'm going to take advantage of what I have now. Like, I live in Port Kennedy, Manchester area. And the MMA gyms around there aren't that great. Like, if I was to do MMA, I'd probably move to Perth or move to a different country and do it. So, and I have access to like the best Muay Thai coach in Australia that is so highly underrated. Why not take advantage? And he wants to take me to where he wants to take me. So it's like a both agreed party. I got my strength gym sponsors me, so I don't have to pay my strength training. I have a good job. I live with my mom. Like, everything's perfect. So I don't want to take the risk and go into a different sport now, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If it comes, it comes.
Yeah.
You're young, so.
Yeah.
It's crazy because, I work a lot with footy, and I've kind of grown up with footy, working footy.
Yeah.
A lot of like you kind of reach your peak when you're like 27, 26, 27.
Yeah.
But all like MMA fighters and all that, like a lot of the champions now, like Adesanya is 32.
Yeah.
You know, Poirier and McGregor, they're both 30, 32, 33.
And I watch the female fighters who transition. Most of them, like, if they have a striking background, they take like 2 to 3 years of just training purely MMA, and they're already at such an elite level. Because I honestly think the striking in MMA is rubbish. So like, when you're a Muay Thai and you go into it, you're sick. Yeah. So it takes like 2 or 3 years to work on that ground game to make sure like you're ready. Like Jada Ketley, Jacinta Austin. Jacinta Austin is amazing. She took a year, and now she's like pound for pound number 3 in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And like, I find her so cool because she's my weight, and she's fought from 52 to 65.
Wow.
Throughout her kickboxing / Muay Thai career. She had like over 25 fights, and she's like 27 years of age. I already told her how cool I found her, and she's already transitioned to MMA. So she's like, I watch her journey, and like, she can do it, I can do it as well. And she only started Muay Thai when she was like her late 24, 23. And then now she's MMA. She's like 27, 28. She just like a year ago transitioned. And Chelsea Hackett, do you know Chelsea Hackett? No. She fought Victoria Callahan. That was her last fight before she transitioned to MMA. She couldn't get any more fights, so that's what she did. And literally, by her 4th fight, she was on the Contender Series for UFC.
Oh wow!
But she's tapered back a little because she lost, and she's just working on MMA for a while. But like, if you want something, you can get it, and there's plenty of girls that have done it. So why can't I?
100%.
When the time comes, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Sure. If you can set your mind to it.
Yeah.
Do it.
And it's cool. Like, I watched watching MMA in person for the first time at Eternal was insane. Like, seeing like, there's a different level of strength and IQ and just pure power that you need to have. And like, it's just so demanding on the body in a different way than Muay Thai. But Muay Thai is so beautiful at the same time. Muay Thai is about like control and power and balance and techniques. And I love that beautiful side of Muay Thai, as well as in Muay Thai, the female scene is growing. They're having like female fights at Lumpini, like not yet, but soon.
Really?
And like females are now like on Channel 7 like television as well. Like main events and stuff like that, which is crazy. It's been within the past year. Like, for example, I look up to Victoria Callahan Sullivan a lot, and like what she's done. Like Muay Thai for females is growing as well, which is I want to be a part of that as well, if that makes sense. Yeah. Before any of that.
You're getting to an interesting point now where almost MMA is becoming a martial art itself. It's developing like you can't really train. Going into you got judo, you got Muay Thai. You always have to go and train MMA. Like, you can't just step in as like a Muay Thai judo fighter into MMA anymore, like it used to be.
You need to
like when you
tick all the boxes.
You make sure you do your MMA training before.
And that's another thing. Like, I have goals besides fighting. I want to do well with my nutrition and do my masters and stuff like that. And my goal was to finish my bachelor's and then go to Thailand and train for as long as I want. Or like, I don't know if I'm the type of person who can handle a long time being over there, or train for a few months and come back and fight and then go back. Like, I didn't know what it was going to be like. But then Corona happened. So now I'm like, do I just stay in Australia and do my Masters of Dietetics during this time?
Yeah.
Wait till like the international travel falls over? Like you never know what can happen. But yeah, just take it day by day.
Do you feel like there's room for other things? Like, do you feel like you could go off and do other things outside of fighting? Like another career, like once you get done with your dietitian, you go start off your own clinic or like a nutrition clinic or you just work solo?
After fighting?
I don't know, like during. It's like
I feel like you have to be 100%
okay.
like in Muay Thai, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like the only reason that I would want to extend what I do in terms of my nutrition is so I could do it sort of on, like I wanted to build an online client base so I could have online clients so I could travel wherever I wanted and fight wherever I wanted and like, you know, be able to go to Thailand for X amount of years at a time and still be able to work and train, if that makes sense. But I'm not having a plan. I'm just thinking of ideas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you have like a, I don't know, like a dream? Like if nothing was possible or anything like that, what would it just be?
If Corona wasn't around?
Well, outside of Muay Thai. Let's go outside of Muay Thai. And nothing was impossible. You could do whatever you wanted.
Do you know the fight dietitian?
No, I don't.
No. Well, he's like my idol. What he does is amazing. But I would love to do that for women specifically.
What does he do? Exactly.
So he has his own team of dietitians and interns that do like they do Israel Adesanya's diet and stuff like that, high level UFC, as well as like people at my level as well. And he's just built a whole, like he does podcasts all the time and he has like he's just one of the top at what he does, but he also has like plenty of colleagues who are way better than him that help make him better. But like there's not much in nutrition about females at the moment and research and stuff like that. So I wanted to go study at ECU for my master's to be able to do some research in terms of that, like what areas of field of nutrition and combat sports that haven't been studied for females, because most of the studies that have been done on males, and we're applying that to females when it doesn't make sense because we run differently and we have the menstrual cycle to worry about and stuff like that.
So much other
so it would relate back to weight cutting and nutrition performance and stuff like that. I don't know, like I look at because I have a few American dietitians on my Instagram. I look at what they do every day and they like work with like the basketball players and they cook and their food and do their nutrition and stuff like that and live with them, do like 11-hour days, but like they build relationships with like these high elite level athletes, which I find really cool.
Do you find that's a little bit like, I don't know, they don't really learn, they just kind of get into a habit of having someone cook and do all this sort of stuff?
You learn. I feel like you learn so much. Even if you're not being told why you're doing things, just to be exposed to those choices and like when to eat, what to eat, you'll learn, if that makes sense. Like, you don't have to understand why, as in like it's good to know why, but sometimes that information is too overwhelming. Yeah. Especially when you're trying to teach someone. Like it takes such a long time for them to even just adhere to what you're telling them to do. Because most people, like 80% of the time, are doing what they want. And you can give them the perfect meal plan, but they won't do it. They'll screw up somewhere, if that makes sense. Yeah, because even I'm the same with my own. I give myself my own nutrition and I end up just doing flexible dieting because, you know, didn't have time to make this. So I had to do this instead. Yeah. But, like, people learn the choices to make because they have that experience behind them. Yeah. Oh, I remember that I did this and this. So subconsciously soaks in. Yeah. They do it repetitively enough. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lifestyle thing. Yeah. I guess you don't want people going, oh, it's after training. I've got to have this exact macronutrients, or rather than go, oh, look, I've had a hard session, so I need a little bit more carbs today than I did yesterday, if that makes sense. Simple things like that. Yeah. Do you supplement at all? Like, do you take protein powders? Obviously, yeah. There's a few vitamins, generic aids that actually been like class A approved to work. Yeah. So like protein powder, whey protein, creatine. Yep. I don't take creatine yet because the makes you water retention and your weight. Yes. Yeah. So I'd rather get my weight down to a weight where I don't have to worry about in terms of if I had a fight in X amount of weeks, and then I could implement it. It's all about timing with that. as well as beta-alanine, which is
Yep.
a vasodilator. Helps
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Your veins. Have you had it before?
No.
Oh gosh.
And my strength coach is just purely drinking beetroot juice the other day at training. I was like, what is going on?
And it gives you like tingles, like makes your skin really itchy because it's a vasodilator.
Yeah.
And all the blood gets like to all the surface of your skin and it feels like you're itchy.
Yeah.
Well, that's when you know it's ready to train.
It's so scary. But
It's gnarly. No, it's really good because it's good for buffering lactic acid out of your bloodstream. So you actually push a little bit harder. You recover faster.
Yeah, there's one more, but it's on the tip of my head and I can't forget.
Caffeine?
Oh, yeah, caffeine.
Caffeine?
I think that might be it. Yeah. 45 to an hour before training, not before sparring. Every time I have caffeine before sparring on a Saturday morning, I have panic attacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's just so weird. I could be fine strength training in the morning or boxing, but not sparring.
Because you raise your heart rate too much and you get too
and
erratic.
It's the end of the week. It's a Saturday and I'm already so tired.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
Exhausted. And then you add like caffeine, which makes me like hell nervous. And then I'll just end up breaking down every time.
Yeah. Have you played around with CBD oil at all?
No.
Interesting.
My friend Shannon Gardner, she takes that to help her sleep. So I've heard a few athletes and it works for them.
I do. We used to. I haven't gotten any at the moment, but used to do it for sleep. And then I started to notice the opposite. So I would take CBD before sparring.
Yeah.
And I found like I was able to kind of relax.
Yeah.
Enough to kind of don't be so hesitant with things. I'd be able to throw and
that's something that
relax, flow. Would flow better.
Yeah.
Because I would get a little bit anxious and just
too
kind
intense.
of too stiff, and that I was able just to relax and kind of.
I need it
flow
best.
through.
See, the thing is, I listened to Fight Dietitian podcast about he had a guest on just specifically on about CBD, and no one really knows how much. Like a spray or like no one knows how much you're supposed to be having. Or when too much is too much, and when it accumulates in your body and stuff that, which is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't really taken it consecutively. I think usually I'll do one, two, like if I just buy, sometimes if I've got enough money or I might see it on special, I might buy a couple of 30 ml bottles. Yeah. But then I don't really continuously take it for 12 months or anything like that, kind of maybe once a couple of months. But I did remarkably find I slept better, recovered a lot better, and especially Whoop. Have you?
I'm trying to think about getting Whoop or a Garmin.
Do it. Get the Whoop. So when I was taking CBD oil, my REM sleep was 3 hours a night. But now, last night I had 2 hours of REM. Yeah. And that obviously REM sleep's dependent because of nutrition and how hard I'm training and that sort of stuff. Yeah. How long I was actually in bed for is obviously a big difference. But one of the main factors was my CBD oil. Yeah. Because with the app as well on Whoop, is that you have a journal function and you kind of select things that you want to journal. Yeah. And one of them is CBD oil that you use. Yeah. And then you were saying and then it will give you stats. So after a couple of months or a couple of weeks of using it, of tracking it in your journal, it might say, oh, the last 16 times you reported CBD oil use, you slept this 30 minutes longer, or for example, it'll be something like that. Picks up patterns. And there was one for me where I had, when I was on that meat-based diet, the animal-based 30 days of whatever I was doing, it tracked. It said I was 16% increased sleep over that in the last 16 days since I was tracking that, and just interesting. And it gives you how you're saying you listen to your body, you don't train too hard, or you don't train in the mornings. It gives you an activity score. So
I see that on people's Instagram stories. Yeah, I want something like that, just so it monitors what I'm doing as well.
And you can wear it I wear it in Muay Thai. I just wrap my hands and wrap it over the top of that. Yeah,
your gloves fit in it.
Yeah, I have 16-ounce gloves. Yeah, 12-ounce probably a little bit tight. For my hands, fit in 12-ounce gloves, but it fits. You just have to make sure it's just pushing. Or you can get, probably not for Muay Thai. You can get a sleeve. I
think I've seen someone have a armband thing.
Yeah, you can get up on your band and then you got impact sleeve.
It kept falling off.
Yeah, right. What's his name? Paulo Costa has one. He has a sleeve and it's padded. Oh, okay. So if you kick it, it's fine. Oh, it's soft. It's an actual some people actually think they can get the band, but put the band up on their bicep. Yeah. But you can get a sleeve, a protective sleeve. Yeah. And it has a cushion. So if you hit it, it doesn't actually hurt. Yeah. So you can use that for clinching and that.
It's good.
Did you find judo helps with your clinch? I just can't random thought come to your head. Nah,
clinching is just a whole different game.
different game.
Mate.
Okay. Not the strength, like your strength
Like-
at all.
No, I'm pretty strong just in general. Like in terms of clinching, judo, I don't know, a few fights of illegally judo for someone, but that doesn't count. But it counted at the time.
Really?
But, yeah,
Was it just a different state? Or?
It was like a certain show. You know when I talk about sanctioning before?
Yeah.
This just didn't pick up on it.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Because obviously you can't hook the leg.
Yeah, it was more of a hip throw.
Oh, hip.
3 times.
Yeah, right.
But it won.
The rules sometimes when our coaches explain, I'm like, well, that's a bit murky. Like sometimes you can kind of go behind and use your knee to kick and because sometimes you can easily get the hip and
you just can't. Yeah, sometimes it's so obvious, but sometimes you can sneak away with little things like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whoop. Yeah, I like it like that, and it tracks my weights and keeps me accountable a little bit more.
I had a crappy little Fitbit, but I broke it because I kept like pulling it off too much. And it was good to know how much sleep I get to keep myself accountable and stuff like that. And my resting heart rate, especially I wore it after my last weight cut. My heart rate, like afterwards, because you're dehydrated, went through like the roof. And having my watch on, I had to like take it off because it was freaking me out that my heart rate was doing that. But that's just what happens when you're dehydrated that badly. And like seeing people's recovery from their training camps on that Whoop on story versus like their weight cut and then like the week off.
Yeah, Vic wears it,
Yeah, I find that interesting. So I want to be able to track my own.
Yeah. The only thing though that they stitch you up on, they have to buy a subscription.
Yeah.
So I think they stitch you up on.
Yeah.
So they give you they have free band, but you got to pay to actually use the app.
Oh.
Which is kind of annoying, They stitch you up. I think they do specials every now and again, like Black Friday sales and that sort of stuff. But it's interesting for someone like us who actually like you were a scientist, like scientifically inclined and like to learn, cerebral a little bit and like to think and learn and to understand. But for the general person who just likes to train and do whatever Garmin or a Fitbit does enough for them. But I like to look in detail with certain things and it gives you like your heart rate for your session. You can see how it trends.
That's what I want.
And then so like today, let's have a look. So for today, where's my Whoop? The only thing that doesn't have a Muay Thai option on here. So I did weightlifting and martial arts.
Yeah.
They have like jiu-jitsu and
kickboxing? Oh no, don't put that down.
Is that offensive to Muay Thai?
Yeah.
If you say kickboxing? I never checked if they had kickboxing on it, to be honest.
Or just boxing?
It has boxing.
Because I feel like martial arts
has boxing.
Like be like more ground work or not as intense. I feel like boxing would be the same.
It's only got kayaking. Has jiu-jitsu. Like, but it's because American-based company has like operations, tactical, medical, flying. Has parkour as a activity, rock climbing, but it doesn't have volleyball, water polo, weightlifting, wrestling.
So is that the category like?
So that's what I put down as
calories and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it has calories, but I find that's a little
Is that
bit
why
off.
you categorize it though? Is it like a blowing off?
So what it does? So usually you can start it. So I go into Muay Thai. I'll go, okay, I'm starting my martial arts session. Press start.
Oh, okay.
But if I forget, sometimes it tracks.
Yeah.
It takes every time I do my martial arts or my Muay Thai, it tracks the heart rate. And if I forget one day to start it will pick it up. It's like after my session, it'll be like, you've done heart rate.
My Fitbit, when I teach the kids, it thinks I'm training.
Yeah.
But I'm just teaching.
So this does the same thing. So like if I go do like a coaching session, it's like 40 degrees in the gym.
Yeah.
And I get pumped up and I'm sitting. I'll say like you've done this activity and I'll just put down coaching or there's like labouring. Like if I was out doing manual labour during the day, you can select that as an activity because it just picks up on anything because it tracks your heart rate.
Yeah.
And it works with your heart rate variability as well. So the difference between
that's really good to know for your recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if I have really hard days in a row, my heart rate variability is right down.
Yeah.
And I'm real tired. And I get in the red. I've been in the red zone a couple of times, but I put that a lot to if I have a bad diet.
Yeah. That would be so good for someone like me because like I feel like even though I try not to overtrain, I always train so intensely. My body's always like, ugh.
Yeah. So say on a day. So on the morning, it would say like today I was 48% recovered.
Yeah.
And it will say, well, at the moment it says you're at a balanced level of strain for today. Going above 14.9 will promote fitness gains but may diminish your body's ability to fully recover.
Makes
So
sense.
it says 12.6. You can get 21, but it's impossible. Like your heart rate has to be elevated for 24 hours for it to get that high.
Oh, okay. So like drugs.
You can, or just be ridiculous. It's impossible. I say it's impossible.
Have people tried it? Like, do you know anyone who's tried?
Well, you can join groups.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do I get to groups? And I'm in it's a martial arts group. And some guy has the highest guy on like daily day strain.
Yeah.
20.6. And his activities for the day, he had running. He had 14.2. Hold on. Sorry. No, that's not. So that's the last 30 days. So he's 19.8.
Yeah.
That was his running. So he must have had a pretty hard running set.
Yeah.
10Ks probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he had an activity, could have been anything, at 12. And he burnt over 4,500 calories for the day.
So he's trained twice a day already, and that's his little score.
But some guys have this girl, Courtney, she had running. She did a running 15.9, and then she had martial arts 9.8.
So it went down.
No. So it's her total daily strain is 17.3.
Oh, so that adds it up.
Well, it doesn't add it together. It averages your daily heart rate.
Oh, okay.
Or heart rate variability as well.
Yeah.
It takes it all into account. So that's what's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I like it.
Yeah.
And you can buy like straps, and you can buy different colours and
That's
personalise
cool.
it.
It'd be cool, like being able to track your fight camps as well.
That's what Vic said.
Yeah.
After her fight, it took about a couple of weeks for her heart rate variability to go back to normal.
Yeah.
Because there's obviously, or I think it was a couple of days, because you have like a big adrenaline dump, like you're fighting, you're amped up, and then it takes a couple of days for your body to actually recover.
Yeah.
From obviously the intense exercise that it was, but in the grand scheme of things, however many rounds, from a physiological standpoint, from like your lungs and your cardiovascular, that really isn't that hard. Like all the other training you've done.
Yeah.
But it's more
the mental
everything.
Your body going to shock afterwards.
Yeah, all the chemicals that go in your body from the adrenaline.
Yeah.
That's what really screws you up. That's what screws your heart rate up.
Yeah. Even the lifestyle change, like going from every single moment you're focusing on this fight, what you eat, what you sleep, you're everyone investing in you, to like none of that suddenly. It's pretty intense. That's why people get like post-fight blues and like depression and stuff after they fight.
I never thought about that before.
Yeah. Every single time I get sad, because you go from living such like a purposeful life, and like the spotlight's on you, and then it's suddenly taken away. And if you don't have a fight to focus on coming up, a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves. And like you see people not fight again if it's their first fight and they've experienced like had a bad or a good experience, but that dump's been so bad, probably won't have the strength to be able to even show up at training again because of that big dump that they had. And the post-fight blues.
Yeah. I never thought about that. That makes sense.
Because you never know how much your life changes. When like I see it now when I see all the guys who are new and they're fighting, but like you have to sacrifice so much, and like normality is taken away from you. And I guess afterwards you really just have a massive perspective changes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you find that you had to fight, I don't know, a little other people's kind of perception on what like a normal person does, like in terms of like life, like being a fighter and spending devoting your life to fighting is so out of the ordinary, like to what other people think. That did you ever have to, do you worried about what other people think about that, or you kind of just like screw?
At first, it disappointed me that people I wanted support from didn't understand how much it meant to me, and how much like. The only people who really understand me and understood me were the ones who trained alongside me. And being fresh out of high school, and like my first year out of high school, I was fighting, and in high school I didn't fight. And people who I was very close to, like growing up through high school, didn't support my dream and didn't understand how much it meant to me, like even now. But over time, the more I fought and the more I expressed myself on social media, the more the people who I'd never expected from my past came back into my life and supported me.
Interesting.
So it's hard to get support from people who don't understand it, but once you do, and they may not understand it, but they still support you and admire your growth, it's really cool seeing the type, like I never expected the people who are like my cheer squad at my fight shows are actually the people in high school I never really spoke to.
Yeah,
But
right.
they absolutely love what I do, and they can see it means something to me. It's not just fighting. It's my, it's what I live for.
Yeah.
And they come, they don't even like violence, but they come to support that. They support my growth, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's win-win, lose-lose.
Interesting. Did you have to, was there a time where you had to kind of fight internally about career in other things or fighting? Or was that?
I don't know, just like.
It was easy, just an easy straight through.
It's easy for me to be able to train and live that lifestyle because I've always been like solo and focused on whatever I'm focusing on. But it made me mature up really quickly and realize that what's important in life and that's investing in yourself. And it's not like you can have experiences and choose what type of experiences you have. You don't have to have the similar ones to everyone else just because they're doing it. You do what works for you and what makes you tick. And like even when I do get to do like what normal people do, when I do it, it means so much more to me now. Like to be able to get drunk and go to a festival. Probably do that once every year. But when I do it, it's hell fun. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is it hard? So when that does happen, do you feel like you miss out? Do you feel like you miss out at all or not really?
FOMO, I don't get FOMO, but I feel like a lot of fighters, especially young ones, feel guilty for when they do normal things because they're expected to be training, they're expected to be an athlete, and you have this whole persona and perception on yourself that when you do let yourself go or do you let yourself do normal things like, I don't know, have ice cream for breakfast because you're an adult and you can choose to, and like some people can't. Like I know I'm close to a lot of people, fighters my age, they struggle to be able to let that idea go that you don't have to be an athlete 24/7, that you can enjoy life and go out for a meal with your friend on a Sunday and not have to worry about eating your macros. You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's your perspective. Before we go, I need to know, final question. If you were to have dinner with 4 people and you could choose whoever you wanted, who would you pick?
First of all, the fight dietitian. I think he's
what's his name?
George Sullivan.
George Sullivan.
He's pretty cool.
Bang one. Where would you go?
Where would I go
for dinner? Yeah.
Get chunky.
Get chunky.
It's not even dinner, it's dessert. New York cookies.
Ice cream.
And 4 people, right?
Yeah, you got 4. So you got George Sullivan.
I have to bring one of my friends with me to help me because I won't be able to socialize without them helping me. So my friend Shayla, she'll help me speak to who.
What do you mean?
Like, I'll get nervous in that situation. I need someone who knows me. So that one of my friends, Shayla.
Yeah, it's 2.
Who else? I feel like I really would love to, I don't know, growing up, I always loved like Ronda Rousey, but she is annoying, but I would love to know how her mind works because we both grew up doing judo.
Yeah.
And like,
did you ever watch a documentary on Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like that.
I'd like to think that 10-year-old Bryony would be able to give Ronda a hard time. And my 4th one, I can't be Muay Thai. I can't be martial arts related.
It can be whatever you want.
Surely. This is hard. I feel like you should have warned me about this question.
This is why I like to put it. The last one to finish off on the spot. It could be 3. You don't have to have the 4th one.
Gary Vee, because he's very outspoken.
I don't know who that is.
He's an like entrepreneur. He's crazy. You need to follow him on Instagram right now if you don't know who Gary Vee is. Yeah.
I don't know who he is. I need to look him up.
Yeah. People listening to this would know, surely.
Oh, really?
Gary Vee, yeah.
Gary Vee.
Yeah.
I reckon maybe I saw a picture. I probably know who he is.
Yeah. Or him saying like lots of swear words.
Oh, really? No, probably not then.
Yeah. Good bloke.
Where's this entrepreneur of?
Like he's, I don't know how to explain what he's done. He's achieved so much and like a lot. He's just, yeah.
Do you have a podcast?
Yeah, he has a podcast. He's like on everything. And at the moment he's trying to like build like these little characters that like you can buy and stuff like that. He's created his like own emojis for emotions.
Gary V. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I've seen him around. Yeah,
I'd love to talk to that
everyone.
boy. Yeah, you have to
That'd be
pay a
interesting.
lot of money to have like a 10-minute conversation with him.
Well, good thing you get to pick and you
Yeah.
can come. It's all hypothetical, so you don't have to pay him any money. So those 4 people.
Yeah.
There you go. Bit of everything, bit of Ronda Rousey. I actually like that Netflix documentary because obviously all you see on the MMA and the UFC is that stoic kind of person. You don't really get to see the kind of, the gentle side, I guess, and the kind of emotional aspect and what really drove her to be so great. But I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, I've read her book as well. I think I read it when I was like 14, 13
Mm-hmm.
and like I always wanted to fight and like I always just like looked up to her kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
She's obviously expecting a kid soon. A baby girl, I think it is.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
Should have to be hard to live in her shadow as a sister, as a daughter.
She lived in her own mum's shadow. Her mum's.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Her mum was, first female world judo American, first American.
I know she was world champion judo.
I think she's the first American judo world champion.
Yeah, like gold at the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It was something like she was the first American woman judo for world champion or Olympic gold medal, which is pretty nuts. And then Ronda went one up.
Yeah, and like I didn't know that until I watched a documentary.
Yeah,
so I was like, this girl's so good at judo. And I'm like, wait.
Her mum was pretty good too.
It's a generational thing.
Which would be interesting to see because obviously her husband Travis Brown is obviously a high athlete as well, MMA.
Yeah.
UFC heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think it was a contender. We didn't get anywhere good, but if you're fighting the UFC, you have to be pretty good. But
yeah.
if you don't make it, you just don't make it. Do you follow anything outside of like you? Like, do you follow like MMA podcasts or anything like that? Or I like to listen to Below the Belt by Brendan Schaub. Have you heard of that one?
No. I might follow it.
Yeah, he does a good weekly summary of the fight. Like, we go over the fight speed. He just comes as a summary of MMA. He does like Bellator or does highlights and talks about upcoming fights. Doesn't really hype them up, just kind of just a bit of a below the belt, like a.
Yeah, I listened to Combat Chat by like a few Muay Thai guys in the scene. They talk about Muay Thai. And Liam Harrison kicking it.
No, but kicking it. That's a good name. Kicking it.
You have to listen to it. So good. I sent it because the last one they did was on strength conditioning. I sent it to my strength coach to get an understanding of like more different perspective. And he was like, why have you sent me this Irish guy? I'm like, he's not Irish, he's British. It's cool. It's cool accents.
Do you have a podcast that you would recommend to other people to listen to?
Ooh, I listen to so many.
Not one episode, but like
depending
an actual.
I don't know. It depends on what they want. So like I like to teach myself things. So the Fight Dietitian has stuff on nutrition, and strength conditioning has so many different people where you can branch out from there. Usually I get always messages about that. I like to listen to the Huberman Lab. He talks about like, cause he's a exercise physio, like he teaches about everything. In terms of like how to get better sleep, CBD oil and just like everything cool. Like he just teaches because that's what he does at uni. Who else do I listen to? Oh, Smith's Fitness Podcast. Shout out. They're cool. I like listening to them.
You're forgetting one.
Been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, listen to that one.
Any books?
Books. Mindset by Carol Dweck. Everyone needs to read Mindset by Carol Dweck.
I don't have that one.
Or like, no matter what age you are, you would benefit from that.
Okay.
Yeah. That was life-changing, that book. David Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
I've given that book to my friend Keelan. And Stefan read it. And he went out and did like a 20-kilometer run at nighttime after we finished it. Like, you're crazy.
Have you wanted to do any of his challenges like that?
Me?
Yeah.
Someone at my gym told me that I should, because we do like at Smith's Fitness, my strength gym, we do running club, and to get into it you have to run half a marathon. He was like, so why haven't you done it yet? And I was like, what do you mean? I'll do it tomorrow. So I went to do it the next day.
Oh, did you? Half marathon?
Yeah.
How'd you go?
It was good. Yeah, I had a little electrolytes and like 2 little snack bars. So I just went and ran like Rockingham foreshore up and down 2 times, 3 times. Yeah.
Holy
it was just like chill. I did it easily. Afterwards, my legs were like sore. I had to put a little ice on them. Didn't do Muay Thai for 2 days, but then I was fine.
I couldn't think of anything worse than going out to run. Look at me.
Yeah, no.
I like, mate.
Running's
I don't think
easy.
I don't think I've actually accumulated 12 kilometers in the last month.
Oh,
of running.
okay. Yeah, running's so easy done for me. It's just, you just one step foot in front of the other. That's why I
Yeah, but do you have to carry 110 kilos?
No.
Yeah, yeah. It's harder when you're 110 kilos.
Small people privilege.
I'm a small person, but a wide person.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. What did you have? Any fights coming up or anything you want to shout out? Do you want to?
I don't have any fights coming up. I'm training to be ready for Road to Muay Thai Grand Prix on the 20th of August, which is like 6-7 weeks.
You're just hoping for someone to.
Yeah. Because I haven't fought. I fought once this year, and I usually fight all the time, so I'm going crazy. So I'm just focusing on that. Give a shout out to Victory Recovery Systems. They've sponsored me since my first professional fight.
Yep.
I appreciate them.
There's a discount code, is there?
Yeah, Bryony Soden, 15% off. You get like massage guns and foam rollers, trigger balls. Trigger balls are heaven. Like I sit on my trigger ball right where my hip flexors are all the time and like roll it out on my calves because if you do Muay Thai, you're always on your toes. You get like really sore calves.
And what about your feet? Do you get sore like plantar fascia as well? Like right underneath? No? Well, I didn't get that.
My strength coach trains his feet, but I don't. I usually train in barefoot when I lift weights. So like and doing things right, if that makes sense. Yeah, through my feet. And then shout out to Smith's Fitness. They sponsor me now, so listen to their potty.
Sick.
Go to their gym. Shout out to my coach, David McVicker.
Oh, there
like,
you go. You spoke about him enough on
the
here.
man, the myth. He doesn't know how amazing he is and what like he's gonna create a massive legacy. Like we've only been in around for 4 years. Most gyms in Perth have been around for like 20 or 30. And we've got such a young team and we've actually like had Australian champions, had world champions, and we've only been around for a short amount of time and our fighters are so skillful. We can just see it. So, I'm excited for our future and for him to demonstrate how amazing he is through us as well. Free Lions Gym, Sansingto.
Do you want to put anyone on blast? Put anyone on notice?
What does that mean?
Just put them on notice and we'll let them know. Talk some shit, put anyone, look down the barrel of the gun and say, I want to see you in the ring. No?
No, what? No.
No,
I'm too nice.
Too nice.
Like, I get really upset when my opponents don't speak to me afterwards because
really?
I want to be their friend, but like, is
that crazy?
Too much soul taken.
They're embarrassed.
Yeah. No, I'll fight anyone. I don't really mind. I feel like I'm ready to fight anyone in Australia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to watch you.
Yeah, better be.
Grow and
I'm trying hard.
keep up your Instagram.
Yeah. Oversharing.
Just keep it up. I love it. I love all the stuff on there and all the shit, all the dances and all the TikToks. And, oh no, not TikTok and Instagram. What's that? Reels.
Yeah.
Instagram Reels.
Yeah. Good to keep the reels up.
All the questions and answers.
Yeah.